Hey, Truth Seeker, welcome back. Zach here. They've been using China the last few weeks to show these negative images, these anxiety provoking images, escalator accidents, stampedes. There was an explosion story a couple weeks back, which we'll go over, and then there's the one today that they're just showing over and over and over in the mainstream media. I want to show you what I've observed throughout the day. I don't know what to make of this right now, but something's up. They're reporting that 44 people are dead, the kill number, the current death count. Look at this picture right here. Look at how many cars are destroyed, this massive parking lot or whatever it is. All these destroyed cars. This is the fourth most densely populated city in China, which is a very populated nation. If there's an explosion this big that damaged cars this bad, you just have to assume that way more than 44 people died. Also, look at this headline right here. I thought it was an earthquake. This is why I teach Gematria, Truth Seeker. I thought it was an earthquake, has 113 Gematria, the number for mainstream, the number for green screen, the number for dishonest. I mean, China's a long way away. I don't know what the hell happened here. I'm just showing that the media is taunting us with their regular numbers, telling us that something is up. Was a green screen used? Is this all a bunch of bullshit? I'm putting this video out just for information purposes so that we can see the signs. Maybe somebody out there has the knowledge to help connect what this is really all about. The update says 44 people dead. They give us this name Lu Yu, which doesn't sound like a real name. Oftentimes in these hoaxes, they use the name Lu without the I, which has gematria of 33. But in this case, it has 42, the last name 51. 42 and 51 connected to Freemason and conspiracy with a gematria of 93. The number of propaganda, the number of thelema, a number having to do with sacrifice and more. Earlier today, the headlines were Blast Rocks Chinese City, Tianjin, China. What's interesting is the date numerology of this explosion. August 12th, 15 has date numerology of 35. China has gematria of 35. In Pythagorean gematria, the city has gematria of 58. We're seeing a lot of 58 lately. On July 16th, 27 days earlier, there was a large factory explosion in another large Chinese city, Rizhou. Some familiar numbers. The explanation earlier today about the explosion said this: the blasts ripped offices and homes apart and sent chunks of masonry flying through the air, pictures showed. Masonry, a 33 word. One car was crushed by the debris, another was half buried in a crater in the road. Dazed and bloodied, victims ran from the flames, one covered almost head to foot in blood, wearing only his underwear, pictures showed. Another carried a child wrapped in a blanket, another with a stool over his head as a shield from falling debris. Just stupid details. It was not immediately clear how close to residential areas the center of the explosion was, or how wide the radius of damage, however. Tianjin is a city of 7.5 million people, is a base for refining and petrochemical industries. Let's watch the mainstream coverage, and then we'll just pay attention from here, Truth Seeker, to see what else emerges. Lots of focus on China these days. Hacking everything else.
Tianjin is one of the most populous cities in China, home to more than 10 million people. It's just to the southeast of the capital, Beijing. Will Ripley is there. When you look around it,
notice how they had kill and 44 right next to each other. If you're new here, the kill number is 44. K's 11, I's 9, L's 12, L's 12. Put it together, 44. That's using the alphabetic order.
Well, the devastation here, it's really remarkable. One, just all of the damage that was done to this convention center building, the windows smashed in, the door.
And did you notice what time they just went on the air at, Truth Seeker? 113. And let's ask ourselves, what is this Will Ripley guy doing there? This guy is always on point for the hoaxes. He just knows where to be.
The door smashed in as well. Take a look at this car. It clearly caught fire. The windows smashed. It's crumpled to bits. And we are standing 2 kilometers from the blast site. We're not even close to the epicenter. That gives you a sense of just how strong this was and how scary.
So get that. He's showing damage 2 miles away, and we're to think only 44 people died? In this city of nearly 8 million people? Come on.
Scary this was for the 15 million people who live here in Tianjin when they were jolted out of.
Oh, I guess 15 million. I mean, no way. That's what part of what these stories are all about. Just giving us nonsense to confuse us, to make think things like this are possible. This just doesn't make sense.
Bed overnight. A lot of people in those apartment blocks we visited earlier, and many of those windows are smashed. There's shards of glass piled up on the ground, and people were running outside in a panic. They didn't have time to put on their shoes, and so they were
I mean, how is this car back here destroyed? Did you just see how? Pay attention. Other cars in the lot you can rewind are just fine. I mean, this just doesn't make sense.
barefoot going through this, and that's why we see so many people, hundreds of people in the hospital, a lot of them with cuts because of all of the broken glass. You can see there are helicopters in the air flying overhead, and look.
And you can see these cars here are all fine. Oh, God. I guess, somebody out there who's a skeptic might be imagining in their mind how the debris flew through everything else and landed right in here, just damaging this stuff. It's just like that Cessna F-16 crash where the piece of debris came nicely to rest up against the trailer home. No damage to anything. Oh, goodness.
Looking at that gigantic smoke plume, which you can kind of make out through the haze off in the distance. The fires are still burning right now, as they have been since the initial chemical fire, then the first explosion, then the second explosion, and so on. The air has a thick chemical smell, and we actually feel it a bit in our throats. We wonder exactly what it is that we're breathing in right now, even though most of the people that you see out here are not wearing masks. Either they didn't have time to grab any, they just don't have any. We saw some police and medical personnel with masks. That's about it. We were over at the hospital earlier. It was a very emotional, very sad scene. We actually have security here telling us that we need to move out of the way, and that was an issue that we ran into at the hospital earlier. Security and onlookers were not happy that we were filming, and we were told to stop. I was actually knocked off the air and surrounded by a pretty angry mob. And these are people who've gone through so much. They haven't slept. Some of them have loved ones who are sick in the hospital. At least one man had a loved one who had died. And emotions are high right now. The grief is high, and people are still trying to process all of this, exactly what happened and why. Why was this huge city rocked by these explosions overnight? It's a question that investigators will be looking into as they try to assess the damage, try to treat the sick and the emotionally scarred, and then try to figure out what happened and how they can prevent it from happening again. Will Ripley, CNN, Tianjin, China.
Oh boy, Will. So there it is, Truth Seeker. I mean, something's up. Coding it with their numbers, telling us it destroyed buildings 2 miles away in a city of 15 million people, I guess? But only 44 killed? No way. No way. All right, Truth Seeker. Until next